Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Doomed Productions podcast hosted by us, Doomed Productions. My name is Ethan.
My name is Zach.
My name is Jordan.
And we're here today with another exciting episode for you. And this week, we're going to dive in a bit more into the history of the bell rings, kind of give you guys a little bit of background on where this movie came from, how long have we been working on it for, and just kind of a bit more background and just kind of dive into just some random topics and parts of the bell ring story and how we got to where we are today with this finished movie that's now available to watch. So if you haven't seen the movie already, we'd recommend you go check it out here on our YouTube channel. It is 100% free to check out. And yeah, we'd definitely appreciate people watching it or maybe even sharing it if you enjoyed it. But yeah.
It was based on a true story.
But yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Of all the times Jordan was mad at me and I was mad at him, we just funneled that into one movie.
We just filmed it.
This was just what it looks like on set. We show up, we dig holes for a few hours, and then we film. And then we get mad at each other.
Searching for the next good video idea, pretty much.
That's how it feels sometimes. Yeah, so The Bell Rings. This is a movie that has changed a lot. It's probably been the most drastic between draft to draft or idea to idea. And I've been working on it. I think the oldest documents I have go back to like 2019 or 2018. But I've had some of the ideas further back. Couldn't tell you when. They're, I don't know. It's all gone.
Well, okay, here's some, just jumping ahead a little bit.
Yeah, no, jump ahead.
The versions that we filmed, that was pretty much the first draft, wasn't it?
Second draft.
Second draft, okay. So it was an early draft.
Yeah, that was second draft. So the first draft was written in 15 days, I believe. Yeah. And then the second draft was written in a month. And this, consecutively, the time frame of this is a month and a half. No breaks of writing. So pretty much wrote the rough draft. We went over it together. You had notes. And then I went back in and I rewrote it as a second draft, which was terrifying because this is the first time I've ever written a feature film script.
That's true.
From start to finish. I'd worked on little things in like college, but those were like 20 pages.
Well, this is the first film you'd done in a while that wasn't improvised, I think.
Yeah.
Because House was your last one, but House wasn't scripted.
There's no script.
That was pretty much improvised.
Yeah.
I mean, we've gone over the history of House before, but
yeah,
in brief, it was like you had an idea for a scene, you shot it, right? And then you outlined, scenes. You had like 8 sentences of like what happened in the movie, and that was the extent of writing it.
Yeah, and then from there I had like half a movie, and then I extrapolated out the rest of it. But yeah, so with Bell Rings, it was
So was the briefcase the last thing you had done that was written?
I think so.
And you directed?
I think so.
Wow. That's 2015.
Oh, was it that?
That was
that
2015.
Really it?
Yeah, because we released it in 2016.
Yeah, but it was 2015.
But we filmed most of it in 2015.
Oh, now I'm second guessing myself. But if that's the case, that's
because Drive Mr. President, I wrote that script.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, you did. Because that would have been the last. Yeah, you're right then. Because then it would have been the last thing I wrote and directed would have been the briefcase.
Yeah.
And then from there, I directed Drive Mr. President.
So 6 years.
Yeah. Wow.
That's crazy.
That's something else.
What took you so long?
I don't know.
Well, I guess you did direct Drive Mr. President. I guess that.
Yeah, I directed Mr. President. Look how that turned out.
Where is it?
Exactly. I was so scared.
I can't see how it is.
I was so scared. No,
it's on our
actually,
secret page.
It's not the briefcase. It was Mr. Fiddle 3, A Fiddle on the Roof.
You're right. That
was the last thing I wrote and directed.
I forgot about the Fiddle movies.
Yeah, me too.
It's been so long.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute. It's so weird how we keep going back to stories about the boys in broad sense. Like we always come back to it.
It's a recurring theme in our movies, apparently.
It is.
Yeah.
Just guys being dudes.
Just guys being dudes. Yeah. Which is kind of like the Bell Rings.
Yeah.
Just guys being dudes.
Guys being dudes, but like way more depressed.
Yeah.
Guys being depressed dudes.
Yeah, that works.
And then one girl showed up and ruined everything. No, I'm just kidding.
Bell rings is what it's. And add a lady to the mix. Yeah.
No. Yeah. So with the bell rings, like, it was weird, like trying to come up with the story as it was. Because the one I kind of landed on was pitching to you before I really started writing it. It was supposed to take place in like a whole town. Like I think back to last summer, Zach, when we were working on your Western before we did Wild Boys, when we were trying to find locations for that. That's what I would have wanted for the OG Bell Rings, or not even the OG Bell Rings, like the version that I was pursuing at the time, where like a whole town was involved, like you'd meet more of the people. That was like a big part, and I wanted it to be like all ages. Like I wanted it to feel really filled out. But then as time went on, that became less and less realistic. And so then it was like, all right, how do we pare this down? What's like the smallest story you can tell in that world?
It was an issue of, I think, just time, because it was as you were writing it, it was, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it you were going to write it in June and then we were going to start shooting in July? No. We were going to start shooting in June. That was the OG plan, right?
We were going to start shooting in June.
But then the script wasn't done, so then you took June to write it.
And then I was like, we're going to do it by July.
And then
or
Wild
August.
Boys happened, the first part.
And we push it to August.
And then it was shooting in August.
Yeah, and the schedule of that was 14 days total of filming. And we shot, which is pretty good. And it was over 3 weeks that those 14 days were spread out on. It was a pretty tight schedule.
And it's a good lesson in terms of, like, if you're writing a script, I mean, it's a lesson, and like you could learn something from either the spend a lot more time on your script so you can get what you want, or don't worry about getting what you want, because whatever you make could still be great anyway. I mean, I feel like that lesson's both there with the Bell Rings, because I think if you had spent a year on that script, we definitely could have gotten all ages in the town.
Yeah.
But it was a thing of like, we just wanted to shoot it.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And it turned out great, I think.
And it wasn't the most important part of the story.
Yeah.
So it just was, so we started shooting August 3rd. We wrapped shooting on August 23rd.
Oh, wow. So
20 days.
Well, we're not even shooting every day.
Not even shooting every day.
So was it 14, you said, right?
It was 14, might have been 15 technically, I can't remember. Because on the 23rd, we filmed with Caleb and Nathan when they were in town before we left for Chicago.
Right. Which you can see in their documentary, what's it called?
Meetup Number 1.
The Meetup Number 1 on the RC
I need to watch it
channel.
on their channel, because I watched it when they showed it to us in Yakima.
They did, yeah.
Which was good. I got to see it even earlier. When I went up to Yakima for the hotel premiere, I got to watch it even earlier.
That's great.
And it was fantastic. Yeah. They did a great job on that one. Very nostalgic.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to take a minute to shout out Caleb's epic film emulation skills.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the Super 8 looks so good.
It really does.
I shot a music video in Super 8, and I'm like embarrassed now. Like I thought I did all right. And now I look at Caleb and it's like, oh, shoot, I didn't do a good job at all.
In La Danza, I had a Super 8 section, and I was like, this looks pretty cool. And then I saw that, and I was like, maybe I should scrap this Super 8 thing. Like, I'm not going to get as good as...
Just hire Caleb.
I know. I should just I'll give him the footage, and just, it'll be there. I'll just be like, put the Super 8 stuff on top.
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of bring us over a little bit into...
On topic.
But like... So Zach can actually have something to talk about. I'm going to kind of circumvent some things, move the scheduling around. This might be a bit more of a ping-pongy way of telling this story, but...
Well, the movie just came out last Friday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only been out for a week.
No, two Friday, because last Friday was our podcast.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But this is like the first chance. This is kind of really... It's kind of like... If you were to ask us about the Bell Rings...
This is how you'd hear it.
This is how you'd hear it, because we're kind of all over we're not as focused. If you want to... more concise way of following it, watch our videos,
and we have a commentary that'll be coming out for the Bell Rings on our Patreon at some point here. We'll keep you guys updated on all that stuff. There's some little last cogs we got to get set up here, and
there is some stuff on our Patreon, but I would to anybody who's hoping something to make, I would say hold off on signing up.
Wait,
save
just
your
a little
money.
bit.
Just wait. When it's time to sign up for the Patreon, we'll tell you. But it is there if anyone is like really a big fan of us and just wants to give us money. That's cool too. But we're telling you, wait, It'd
Yeah.
be better to wait, but we'll keep you updated.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
But all that to say, when Caleb and Nathan first came down to meet us
For the very first
for
time.
the very first time, they came down, and the Bell Rings was a project that I was like ramping up on. Hadn't started writing it. This was, I think, April. I think it was beginning of April.
It was either March or April.
March or
we had
April.
been shooting Video Carnage.
Yeah. And they come down, and they came down as fans. Like, they wanted to meet us. And so we were like, well, what do we do with these people coming down to see us
Take
driving
him to
3
a
hours?
cemetery.
So we decided what we would do on one of the days, because it was like a couple days. We drove, so we filmed like a filmmaker hangout, a podcast with them. And then we drove around, and we did our lunch break at the church that we filmed tons of stuff at. We'd filmed
Righteous Hombres.
Black Coffee, what's Something Fiddle This Way Comes.
That's right, yeah. Film movies.
Yeah, we filmed a bunch of stuff at this church. We were like, oh, this would be a great little iconic doomed spot to take them to. So we like get McDonald's, we roll up on this church, and we're like sitting on the front porch. And this will be in a video coming out here, our on-set experience. I want to include this footage, but it's me. I tell them the story of the Bell Rings as it stood at that point, which at the point, or at that time, the Bell Rings was going to be a silent film.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
It was going to be a silent film.
And there was talk about...
Like, it was going to be subtitled.
Well,
and
there was also talk about, too, if you've seen the movie, spoiler, or if you haven't seen the movie, spoiler, the moment where James kills Robert, there was talk about having the first half silent and then the second half sound, or swap, where the first half had sound, but the second half was silent.
Yeah, there were there
were so many ideas.
There were so many big creative decisions that we were talking about at that point, and a lot of groundwork that we were figuring out. But we'll get into more of that stuff later. But as what happened is we're eating lunch, and there's this guy that I think we saw him there. He was doing yard work, like just around the cemetery, around the church building. And so we just kind of moved to one side to be out of his way. But at a certain point, like maybe 20 minutes in, he comes around to start talking to us. And he's like, oh, what are you guys doing here? So we tell him like, oh, we're just hanging out, eating lunch. And then I think one of us mentioned that we'd like filmed, like we're filmmakers, and we filmed around the church.
We were like, we love this church. It's a cool location. We've been here a bunch. And he's like, oh, you want to go inside?
Yeah, he's like, do you want to go inside? And we're like, yes. Like foaming at the mouth. Like, so we'd never been inside the building. Right. We never contacted anyone about the building. We just show up. We never tried. We just roll up and film. It's so old. It's like, who do you even contact? There's like no website like that we knew of. Yeah. So we go inside. We're like hanging out. The guy's just like, oh, I'll be out here doing yard work. Come get me. But you guys can just do whatever you want. So we're like taking pictures. We're like walking around, and I'm like, dude, if we could like be in here. So I'm like looking at what it could be like if we filmed in the building.
Yeah.
And as we're leaving, the guy's like, oh, so you film here? You guys film, you say? He's like, if you ever want to use the location, like, here's my number. Just call me and I'll like hook you up.
Yeah.
So if Caleb and Nathan had not come down that day, we had not gone to that location, the Bell Rings would have been a very different movie.
Yeah.
It
would have been set in a McDonald's and not a church.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's so much more impact. I know how I think I would have done it. But it's so much better that we actually got to film in the building. Yeah. I would have treated it, I think maybe even a bit more like the scenes where we do Robert's, played by Richard, the dinner scenes where it's all in that blacked out room. I think the church would have been like that too.
I think of the short film Death to the Tin Man.
That's how I would have, exactly.
If you haven't seen that short film, go check it out, Death to the Tin Man. There's scenes that take place in a church. They're obviously in a church. Yeah. But there's a lot of rear projection in the movie too, and the church isn't lit very well. It's like total, like you're saying, total blackness. Total blackness. So I could have seen that working.
It would have been fine.
Yeah.
But I am glad we got to film it the way we did. Yeah. But all that to say, flash forward, we did get that location. Obviously, you can watch the movie. You can see all the scenes. We shot in like this one day where we had all of our extras.
Only like 2 hours, right?
Like two hours in the building, and then a little longer outside, I think.
Yeah.
But not long. It was a pretty like very scheduled, like this is what we're gonna get, like, because when you're working with another, like with the guy, I didn't want to overstay our welcome.
Right.
So I was like, we're gonna film fast, and then we'll just get out. So, Zach, this is where you come into the picture.
Yeah.
Literally.
How did I? Take me through your experience. What do you remember about the bell rings? Because I don't remember like when I asked you.
By this point, we
how.
had done Wild Boys. We'd been working for a couple months on trying to get another project with Zach,
Yeah.
which turned into Wild Boys pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were going to film school. You're going to leave
I
for film school
was.
soon.
When did you leave?
I ended up leaving
the
in
winter.
January,
Yeah,
but
that's
that
right.
was at the point when I was still weighing it out because I had my recent
Yeah.
diabetes diagnosis.
That's right.
Yeah. So for that one, a lot of it was like, it was trying to like figure out, hey, do you want to help out on the bell rings, that sort of thing,
Because we were trying to give you just more opportunities. That's right. Yeah.
just to get my hands not dirty, but like
We were trying to
in
brainwash
stuff.
you into just not going to film school and see how much better it was just to film with us. I think that was really our motive behind it.
Yeah. But yeah, so it ended up being like, hey, do you want a cameo? Hey, I could use some camera help too. And so I ended up doing both. So we did, did we do the church scene? No, we went to the field that day
We did.
and we did some
I forgot about
pickups.
that. That's right. Yeah.
We did
yeah.
pickups in the field.
It's the scene where Mary comes to tell you that Robert's building the railroad. I remember it
Well,
specifically.
and we got the last shot of the movie too,
And we got the last shot
with
of the movie.
the tree that was a shovel.
Yeah, the tree. That last shot of me with the tree, there was no tree there, obviously, so I had to stick a shovel in the ground and pretend that was the tree.
When we were filming at the, my memory of the field is just you and me and Richard for like one day. I forget that you and Bellamy were also there.
Yeah.
Like I forget that other people were at that.
That
field.
summer is an absolute blur.
Yeah.
So much.
What I think people don't realize too is, if you're a fan of it, if you've been following us since like even as early as October. You kind of see almost a steady release, right? Video Carnage, See You Soon, Wild Boys, blah, 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 all this other stuff. We filmed a lot of movies last year. We filmed Video Carnage, See You Soon, Wild Boys, The Bell Rings, Two Little Ghosts,
Wild
And
Boys
Wild
again.
Boys.
Wild Boys
too.
again.
Yeah.
We shot 6 movies last year.
Wow.
Did we shoot anything else? I feel like we did shoot something else. Was there another like low
La Danza
documentary?
was early this year.
Yeah, we didn't start
so
La
that
Danza
wasn't-
yet.
yeah.
Did we cameo in anything? Well, we were in Dan's shorts too. Like we were in
Dan's
Chicago.
stuff. But I mean, just purely like last year we were busy. And
Holy
when Two Little Ghosts is out, that will be the final movie
From last year.
from 2021.
Yeah.
If that makes sense to anybody.
Yeah. And it kind of feels the same where it's like our output this year I feel like doesn't match the amount of work that we're doing.
Right.
Because it's like we're at the point where we're like staggered by a year.
yeah.
Because like what was shot last year is coming out this year.
Yeah.
What's shot this year for the most part is coming out next year. Again, like barring Wild Boys, because Wild Boys is just a different thing entirely compared to the rest of the stuff we make.
But I just want people to think about just like, I don't know, if you're a filmmaker out there, how wild that is. Like look at any one of our roles in any of the project and just trace like their role throughout the year.
Yeah.
Like you were camera in Video Carnage, then you edited See You Soon, then Wild Boys, then Bell Rings, and like all of the stuff back to back to back is just like wild to me. And I'm not trying to pat ourselves on the back, but I'm kind of like,
It's almost stupid.
I'm like, how did we
Yeah.
do that? Like that
Yeah.
was a lot of stuff we were able to do last year.
And this year feels no different.
Yeah.
The projects are different, but the workload is like, oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Right.
I don't know how we do that. We're the best. That's the takeaway.
Give up if you're not. No. And we're not even saying we're the best. We're just, I mean, this goes back to even when I was in film school. I remember my film teacher said to me, "You guys are like some of the most prolific filmmakers I know." And that's again not to try to brag or anything, but like honestly, we just stay busy we are always working on something.
Yeah.
It's just like if we're not working on something, it's weird. And it's
Yeah.
been that way since film school. I remember 2016, that was another really busy year. Because we did like 8 projects that year.
2016 was a very crazy year. I
They weren't
remember.
features, but they were a bunch of shorts. And
Yeah.
I think if you want to get into film or if you're a filmmaker, there's a period where you have to create a lot in a short amount of time to get better at something.
Yeah.
And again, not saying we're the best, but we have learned a lot since last year even. And that was because we've just done a whole bunch of projects.
Yeah. And we continue to keep trying to push the envelope on ourselves. Again, it's practice.
Yeah.
Because we hopefully won't be doing just YouTube movies forever.
Yeah.
We'll see where it goes.
I mean, if we're paid enough, I mean, I'm fine.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We're going where money is. Don't get me wrong.
We're planning to sell out at the first chance we get.
Absolutely. But it's all that to say. So that day, filming at the church, that was a really, really packed day. And I forget that you were on camera.
I was very briefly in the church, and then
At the end.
we did the my other cameo. That was the scene where you're like trying to sell your land and stuff.
And that was just shot right out back of the church.
Yeah, that was like on the other side of the cemetery, because
Yeah.
it's like the church, the cemetery, and then that
Yeah, we're
field.
like on the property line of like this field right next to it. I'm like, I don't know if we're allowed on this. We're gonna stand right next to it
Yeah.
and make it
tell.
seem like it's your land. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine. I think it's the only shot where a power line, like a very modern looking power line, sneaks in. Is one of those shots over there.
Well, that was no, because I was helping
with
shoot
Travis.
the scene with where you're at the grave. That's where the power line came in.
Yeah, there's that one too. There's a couple, but I think the most egregious one was, I think I've been talking to Travis's character actually at that point. But
Same field, same exact spot.
same spot.
Everything, yeah.
You can pretty easily, I think, if you're observant enough, you can kind of trace. There's not a lot of locations in that movie.
Yeah.
There,
You know,
it was really a test of just like how much can we milk out of just a few locations and a few actors.
It would have been a great film to shoot in Yakima, actually.
It would have been. Oh my gosh, it would have been. I was thinking that on the driving, like when we were just driving around.
Yeah.
They have some great hills and great fields. Yeah, that would have been cool. But I'm thinking, so we had the church,
We had the shack,
the
we had
shack, the field,
That's really it.
and,
And
then
then the other field where you.
The Mary and James field.
Mary and James
Yeah.
Field, and then
/Forest.
and then our like studio blackout room for the meal.
So
So
only 5 locations.
5 locations for bell rings.
Feels a lot
really
bigger
solid.
than that.
Yeah. And what's nice about the park that we filmed at with you and Bellamy is there's a lot of little locations within
That was
that.
a great park.
Yeah, it
That
was.
was a great park.
I'm so glad. And what's funny, I went back to shoot some B-roll, and then I think I was there one more time, and they cut all the grass.
Oh, okay. So we were there right at the perfect time.
So yeah, it couldn't have timed out much better. It could have been really bad if they had cut it while we were filming.
Yeah, that atmosphere is
I love it.
yeah.
My favorite thing is the sound effect I found for like the close-ups, where it's just like these really high notes of like the grains of wheat like tapping on each other in the wind. That sound like, because I have like my mixing headphones. Listening to that, I could listen to it for hours. It was so satisfying. I don't know what else should we. I'm trying to think of what other things to cover, because there's so much that I know I want to talk about. Some of the
Right.
videos we haven't recorded yet, so I'm trying to like get a good swath within this.
Well, I mean, it's whatever comes to your mind first, really.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
again, we haven't talked about this movie. Last week was the
yeah.
It was all about the Yakima. This is all about bell rings.
Yeah.
I mean, it's out
It is.
right now. How do you feel about its release? How do you feel like
Well,
the movie is overall? Like,
I
that's
thought
maybe
the
something to talk
movie.
about?
I thought the movie would suck a lot more. I'll be honest. The last 2 weeks of editing, I hadn't had time to watch the movie.
Yeah.
So I was just editing it together and putting it together and like
Right.
watching from scene to scene, but not watching the whole movie. The only thing I had seen front to back for the most part was the first half of the movie. The second half was a lot more up in the air in terms of how it felt and what the pacing was like. I hadn't had a chance to like sit down and watch it and just absorb the movie.
Right.
So my first time seeing it was the Wednesday before release.
Because we had
right.
Josh Bailey over. He watched Bell Rings and Two Little Ghosts.
Yeah. So he got to see those. So watching it with him was the first time I watched it. And there were some mistakes while watching it. There was like some sound leveling that didn't happen. And there was one shot that got deleted from the timeline.
Yeah.
But luckily that was easy. Just drop it back in.
Yeah.
But that was terrifying.
Yeah.
And it turned out way better though. I like watching it. I was like, oh, this is fine.
Yeah.
Not great, not terrible. This is like just an A-okay movie.
Well,
And
how
that
do you
was-
feel? Well, is that your honest feedback as of now? Just like, this is all right?
I think it's like a B plus,
B
maybe
plus?
a B. I don't know. I think it's good.
See, I think it's our best movie.
I
I would agree.
I think it's our best, easily.
yeah, you know how it is.
And I say that because, and well, I'm also, again, we're biased because we were literally involved in the movie, but
yeah,
I think all of the maybe technical flaws that you see, if there are any, well, okay, here's the thing. I know what it's like. You know, I know what it's like to look at a movie and be like, only see the flaws or whatever. The aesthetic of the movie feels entirely cohesive. Like everything about it feels entirely intentional and planned. Even if I know that it wasn't, or this was, or this thing or that, like the thing as a whole feels like, oh yeah, every single choice in this is intentional. And that to me is a signal that, yeah, this is a fantastic movie if everything's intentional.
yeah,
Like even movies I don't like, there's like, if it's like, well, if I can tell there's intention and meaning behind everything and it's like from one clear vision, that's a great movie if it has that, even if I don't personally care for it.
it's true.
I like this movie, The Bell Rings. I'm biased about that, but I can't, like, the aesthetic of it all feels very intentional, and I don't see anything sticking out that's like, oh my gosh, why is that in there? Like if you watch
It's very consistent.
like if you watch stuff like, I'm trying to think of a good example. The dubbing in Video Carnage, I guess that's the easiest thing. The dubbing in Video Carnage doesn't necessarily gel with the aesthetic of the movie very well. There's certain aspects of it which don't really fit. And same thing with October. There's stuff in there that kind of sticks out. And so, but with The Bell Rings, everything in it feels like it's part of a bigger, larger whole piece or whatever.
Yeah. And with Video Carnage gets helped a lot watching it on VHS.
I think I might do that, honestly, is like,
You should do a
I'll rip because
it off
Video
of
Carnage
VHS.
exists on VHS. I should burn it onto a DVD and then rip the movie file from the DVD on my computer and upload that MP4.
yeah,
And that should be the way you watch a movie, because that's
Yeah.
the best way to watch it, honestly.
it is. It's really good.
But
Then it
anyway, but
covers
again,
up. Yeah.
for the I mean, you don't have to watch the Bell Rings on VHS to like really get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Although I haven't watched the YouTube version, so I don't know the compression. Like I don't know
That's
how that
true.
handles the grain. Because watching the clean, like when we watched it in Yakima, those projectors were a little crappy.
Yeah.
They were a little smooth, little not
Little
sharp.
old projectors. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like, it felt like it had like smoothing on like both the motion and then just the image as a whole. So like the grain is just like non-existent.
Right.
Which is fine because I also added a lot of like blooming and light like wrap to the movie. So that was
That's
fine.
something that will be on Patreon, though. You said you're gonna put a high quality version of the Bell Rings.
I want to put the high quality version, and then down the road, I don't know when this will happen, but I want to release a colorized version.
Yes.
Yeah, and that might be like a different aspect ratio and
Yes.
be a little different. So and might have also include some deleted scenes.
Yes.
So it's like an it's like an extended cut.
Yeah.
The definitive version is the black and white version. Like that's the Bell Rings. But this extended version is fun.
Yeah.
Like this is no like, studio meddling, have to release the true version. This is just this is for fun. Yeah. For the kids.
It's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know how you two feel about it, but like Denis Villeneuve, he said like he's not going to release an extended version of Dune because he's like, there's only one version of Dune.
Yeah.
But the Dune family is like, no, come on, release it. But
That'd
like
be cool.
I don't know if I entirely agree with like, there's one definitive version of a movie.
That's true.
You know what I like? I don't know.
can see that.
What are your two thoughts on this? Like, think about like Logan Noir or like
I think Blade Runner.
or Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And everybody has a preferred. I mean, do you two as filmmakers do you feel like there should only be one version of a movie of like a movie you made, or can you be in love with two?
The
versions?
reason I guess I would say the Bell Rings on YouTube as it stands is the definitive version, or at least, I mean, the YouTube version might have some quality issues. I don't know. Like the reason I say it's the definitive one is because that was my intention. Was it was a black and white movie.
Right.
So I went into it. I shot that movie knowing it was in black and white 4:3.
Right.
Like I knew that was the movie I was making. So releasing a color version in a different aspect ratio, or even if it stays 4:3, like that's not my intention with the movie. It's a fun exercise. So I guess
What if you finish it and you love it more in the black and white?
I think
that's my question.
Well, the
really.
thing, I think I will enjoy it in a different way because it's different. And because the version of the bell rings that I've sat with and edited for the last year has only been in black and white. I've almost never seen the movie in color because the first thing I do when making the movie is for each scene, I make a new sequence, which is its own little thing. And the first thing I do is add the black and white adjustment layer. So I only see the raw clips in color unless I'm toggling something on and off just to check whatever. So the majority of this movie I've never seen in color.
Gotcha.
So I think I'll enjoy it because it's just new.
Okay.
And again, with aspect ratio, same thing. I'm seeing new parts of the frame I didn't get to see before.
Zach, for coalescence is what if you maybe you make a version in like 2:3:9 widescreen aspect ratio, and then maybe you make a 4:3 version, and you love both. I mean, what do you think about having a definitive version of coalescence?
That's honestly an interesting question because I have thought about. I briefly thought about putting it in 4:3, or at least part of it, anyways.
Yes.
At least
Changing aspect ratio, you say?
Not to spoil anything,
but
when a realization happens in the movie, or I had a thought of having the movie in 4:3 up until that point, and then when a certain realization happens 2/3 the way through the movie, then it would like pan into widescreen.
You should do it though. Simple stuff like that is so good.
And it would be really cool, but I feel like I kind of want to save that for a different movie because I don't know necessarily if it'd fit the vibe of this one.
But what if you did it in both?
But that's what I'm saying though. Like, do you think it's possible to fall in love with two versions of a movie?
Oh yeah.
Like the idea of like a definitive version. Do you subscribe to that idea? I guess. Because again, pointing to something like Blade Runner, or if Ridley Scott had loved the theatrical version too, or something like, you know what I mean, where it's not studio meddling. It's not.
It's just a matter of which choice you go with.
Right. It's like the director released two versions of the movie. He loves them both. Which one is the definitive? If there even is a definitive.
I think at that point there just isn't a definitive. I mean, again, I think there's only a definitive movie if the director says there's a definitive version, and even then, that's up to the director's opinion.
Yeah.
Right.
Like someone could say Zack Snyder's Batman vs Superman, the extended cut is the definitive cut because that's the version that Zack Snyder wanted to release. There is still the theatrical cut, which is very different. Some people might prefer that cut over Zack Snyder's extended cut.
Well, you know what's okay.
I know people who like that cut just fine. Again, do I prefer that cut? No. But someone could still watch that one. That could be their favorite cut, even if it's not the director's preferred version.
Think about this. The Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman, that was the theatrical cut for a long time.
It was.
So imagine what the extended cut would have been of that. Because we know there's stuff that's, this is going to be a huge tangent.
We're about to go down the Zack Snyder rabbit hole.
The tin hats come out. But
anyways,
even though it's not tinfoil, because we all know.
Yeah, it's literally not. Like, there's stills of like deleted scenes from the movie. Oh well.
I don't think about it.
But back to color, black and white, all that. Snyder sat with the Snyder cut in black and white on his computer for a long time because it was shot in color. It was going to be, he wanted it 4:3 aspect ratio. He wanted that huge IMAX. There was lots of compromises, yada, all that kind of stuff. But once the theatrical version came out, he saw a poster and he hated the color grading on the poster. So he turned his personal file of his cut in black and white because of that. Because he spent so much time with it like that, he kind of considers the black and white version the definitive version of Justice League. From what I understand, I could be wrong, but I think he said that his preferred version of the movie is black and white.
Yeah, I haven't talked to Zack Snyder in a while, but I can text him later and we can double check that info.
Yeah. anyways.
No,
Well,
that's
and there's
interesting.
even like other situations, like I don't know the whole behind the scenes of Days of Future Past,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
like that one having an extended cut, both work fine because of what they basically. For those of you who don't know, X-Men
know.
Days
They
of
know.
Future Past, yeah. So there's an extended cut where basically in the theatrical, the character of Rogue is completely gone,
Except for the
and-
very end. She pops in.
right.
There's a cameo. Yeah. At the
Yeah.
end.
Right at the very end in the epilogue, yeah. But like all her like story mechanics are covered by other characters like Kitty Pryde and Blink and stuff like that in the theatrical release, just due to re-editing and stuff like that. And both work, at least in my opinion. I prefer the extended version because we get more stuff, and I think it flows better.
I've never seen it.
Oh,
You
we gotta
love
sit,
it.
we gotta
I
sit
know I
down.
would,
You'd
but yeah,
love
I've
it.
never seen it.
Oh,
I've only seen
whole
the
sequence
theatrical.
that they cut. The juxtaposition is really cool.
I've heard great things, but
yeah.
yeah, I've never seen it.
But what's wild too is in the theatrical version, there's cuts and edits that I really like that are missing in
Yeah.
the extended version.
Yeah.
So it's like this weird trade-off where it's like, well, I love this in this version, but I also really love this in this other version.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So don't be surprised if in a year Ethan's like,
because it's also
the
like,
colored version of Bell Rings is the preferred ultimate edition.
Well,
We'll
and there's
see.
also the alternate version of Spider-Man 2
Oh yeah, 2.1.
that I just found out about like several months ago, and I was like, how have I never seen this before? So I ended up watching it, and I prefer the theatrical one.
Right.
It flows a lot better in my opinion. But some of those scenes that they cut are really cool, like
They're-
the stuff with MJ
yes.
and her friend. Great character stuff.
It actually makes MJ, it gives her a lot more depth as a character.
Oh, yeah.
But as a movie, it has a molasses pace compared
Oh,
to
yeah.
theatrical. Like, it'll slowly come into a scene and slowly leave it. Like, you know that old
Yeah.
advice of, like, you should start a scene too late, leave
And
too
leave too
early.
early.
This
Yeah.
does the opposite. It starts the scene way too early and ends it way too late.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting to see in a blockbuster. And I wonder if that was probably by the DVD market that they decided to do that. They're like, oh, they like extended cuts, we'll just do this.
Yeah.
But they just left the full takes in it instead of like,
Because the elevator scene's a lot longer.
oh, it's so long.
Yeah.
And the scene where he's delivering pizza is like,
Yeah.
it's like, it goes on for like a minute after he leaves Emily Deschanel's desk. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, okay. And then it's like a minute of him walking around. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, it's
It goes on for a long time.
That's
and
kind
you're
of
like,
awesome.
And you're like, this is funny on its own as a scene, but it like really it drags in a really
Yeah.
interesting way. And it's not a comment on good or bad, or it's just cause and effect. Like that's what the movie's like.
the
It's
movie
fascinating.
feels a lot different.
Yeah.
depending
I
on
want
what
to see
you
it. That's so
do
crazy.
And your choices that you make in the editing board.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something about the bell rings, I'll be curious to see if I do release a color version. Because I plan to shoot it in 4:3, there's some framing of objects, like background stuff that I don't want in the shot. But I left it in because it's like, oh, it doesn't matter. This is going to get covered up by the fact that it's 4:3. There's like power lines. So the farm we filmed on had big, huge, modern power lines
Those
on them.
things were loud. Too.
They were loud.
They were
They
crackling.
were sketchy.
Like, I'm pretty sure
The
we
first-
all got a
when-
disease.
When we showed up, when we got out of the car, the first thing I did was like, okay, I'm Googling, is it dangerous to stand underneath a power line?
And we still walked, like we parked and then we had to walk in pretty far. Yeah, just get away from the noise because they're just crackling and buzzing and
Right.
yeah, it was a bit much.
Yeah.
But so like I'll be curious, like I might have to even like crop into the 4:3 image.
Right.
So there's to be some compromise. And some of the visual effects, like in black and white, look like, oh, that looks great. You turn off the black and white, it's like, oh, that looks terrible. So I'll have to do some
And then there's other ones
major
where
tweaking.
it's like, yo, the sky is awesome.
Yeah, like the shot where Richard's eyes are in the sky.
Oh, I
In that
wonder how
dream
they'll look in
sequence.
color. Yeah.
It looks terrible.
We pulled it up in Yakima. It looks so
The
funky.
color grading around Richard's eyes, it's like I had to adjust the color to match the sky in a way. His eyes, like the skin is like yellow. It's like jaundice yellow.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Like that was just like, because I just tweaked the colors in black and white to get the hue saturation stuff to look right. And I didn't know what it looked like. It didn't matter. It looked good in black and white. So I left it. But you turn off that adjustment layer, it's weird looking. Not in like a good, like, oh wow, what a creative choice. It's like, yeah, that's wrong.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's an advice to anybody who wants to do visual effects. Is if you make your movie in black and white, you get a lot more leeway.
It's so forgiving.
There's stuff in La Danza where I'm like, damn it, like this part has to be in color, but it looks so much better in black and white.
Yeah.
Like black and white will help your visual effects so much out.
And it'll make your movie last. I think there's a longevity. When I look back on our movies that are in black and white from our early filming days, like Rendezvous Midnight and the black and white version
holds
of Beat
up.
My Heart Beats, those hold up way better for me than the color stuff.
Yeah.
Even though the camera work is shoddier, they're grainier, but the grain translates, digital noise translates so well to black and white because it's just like grain.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be a little funky, but for the most part, it's way more forgiving. Even though I don't think digital noise is a problem anymore. I used to have more of an issue with it. Today, there's shots in Wild Boys 2 where I bumped that up to 128,000 ISO. And it looks great.
It looks fine. Serves its purpose.
Serves its purpose.
It
Doesn't matter.
It's
So don't let grain hold you back. People used to be, I mean, cameras also used to be worse. So maybe we've just come a long ways from when we were starting out. But noise should not be a problem most of the time when you're starting out.
if you shoot a movie in black and white, it helps you concentrate on the value and the light and the darkness too.
Yeah.
So I feel like you'll become a better cinematographer and understand light more if you shoot in black and white.
Yes.
And then once you shoot with color, then you can introduce tone and temperature and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways,
It's all tools.
yeah, it's all too. There's no right or wrong when it comes to all any of this stuff.
It's what do you want?
Even if you had, if in the bell rings, the black and white version that's out, even if that one dream shot had yellow, rich eyes in the sky with the white, sky or whatever, even if that was like, it's still just a matter of taste. Maybe you would have really liked it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. No right or wrong.
No right or wrong. But that won't be in the final version if I
Yes.
do color. I will adjust that.
Yeah. So I think it's good time to move on to what are you watching and what are you working on?
Yeah.
We'll cover more bell ring stuff in the coming weeks. This is just a little taste of...
This is just us rambling about it for a bit.
Yeah.
Just getting some ideas tossed out there. There will be plenty of more Bell Rings content.
If you have any questions about the bell rings too, please ask us in the comments down below.
Probably should have started the episode with that. Whoops.
Yeah. Because we might do a video on it, or we might do a Q&A in the future about the bell rings.
Or at least I'll mention it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to make sure we answer your guys' questions. At the very least, I have to just respond to the comment.
Yeah. Anyways, what have you two been watching?
I rewatched an episode of The Rehearsal last night
How was that?
with my fiance because she likes The Rehearsal more than Nathan For You because it's less painfully awkward for her. So it was good. It's just episode 2. I've already seen it. Hopefully we're gonna watch more tonight. I think we'll have time.
Nice.
We'll see.
Nice.
I like how short the episodes are.
Yeah, it's only 3. Well, I'm like, I wish it was longer.
I know. I like it out of because work started and I had to get up
Right,
early now. So it's like I can justify an episode. If there was like an hour long episode, it'd be harder.
Yeah.
But it's nice.
Yeah.
That's all I've watched so far though.
Zach?
I haven't watched very many movies recently just because of so much coalescence stuff. But I did go to Goodwill the other day, and I got a very good DVD haul, so I'm looking forward to doing that. I got a collector's edition of the Evil Dead.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
So
hey.
that was really cool.
I have a VHS Evil Dead.
Oh, nice.
That was one of my top Goodwill finds.
And then I also got Inglourious Bastards and Inception.
Sweet.
Good picks.
So there were other ones that I really wanted to get, but I was like, I'm spending too much money because they had like a nice, really cool like vintage sleeve of Casablanca, and
DVD.
It was DVD, but it had like a really cool.
Yeah.
The look of it was really cool.
I forgive you.
Just kidding. And then there was also like a collector's edition of Alien, which my brother ended up getting since I was like, I don't want to pay for this, so you pay for it, and I'll end up seeing it anyways.
Smart move.
That's
yeah,
good.
but I'll get around to that anyways. My DVD collection is growing a little too fast.
Not fast enough.
Not a bad thing.
You need to invest in physical media if you want to be able to watch your favorite stuff in the future.
It's true.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I've really seen in the last week since our last one was I saw The Invitation, which is a movie that's out now in theaters.
Is that the one with Ralph Fiennes?
No,
no?
that I know the one you're talking about. That's a
Yeah.
different one. This one has, I think her name's Natalie Emmanuel from Game of Thrones. It's also got, I can't remember who. Oh, David Haller's real mom from Legion.
Oh,
Okay.
I can't remember her name, but I won't spoil it because it's an adaptation of a famous book, but it's like a secret, like it's kind of like a part of the twist, which I didn't know going into it.
That's
like,
cool.
Like going into it, I was like, oh, this is going to be a fun like horror movie, but then there's a clue here, there's a clue here, there's a clue, and then it just clicked in the third act. I was like, oh my gosh, this is an adaptation of and
That's really cool. I
but
love
it's
that.
fun. But it's definitely like only if you're a hardcore fan of the book would you like, or of the other movies would you get it. But I won't spoil it because I thought it was a lot of fun. It was pretty fun.
Cool.
But yeah, that's what I saw.
I'll have to watch that.
What are we working on? Should we update the people?
Yeah. We're working on Wild Boys.
We
Well,
no I'm joking.
you know, that's always the answer to everything we're working on.
I'll say that Wild Boys is pretty much done, 90% done.
Yeah.
There's a 10% more. I counted out 17 hours,
To edit.
the whole thing.
Rough. Wow.
I took all
Thank
of
you.
I took all of Saturday and so because it was one of those things I was like, if I don't, because I wasn't gonna have time going forward into the school year. I was like, and I know you guys wouldn't have time going forward. I was like, okay, either I edit it all this weekend and like I'm done with it after this, this week minus some tweaks, or it just doesn't get done until next year.
Yeah.
And I wanted people to see it, obviously, because I want to get to Wild Boys 4, which we've talked about.
Yeah.
With
There are
with
plans.
people who will not be named as of now,
Yeah.
but they know who they are, and we're very excited to work with them on Wild Boys 4.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wild Boy Horror's gonna be good. The manliest movie ever.
Yeah, the manliest movie ever. We haven't talked about a release date for Wild Boys 3 yet, but
No.
September for sure.
Yeah, it's coming out
It
this
will
month.
drop in September. Not next week.
No.
Maybe the week after.
I don't know.
We'll post it when the trailer drops. It'll release that following
you will
Friday.
know
Yeah,
beforehand.
right.
Yeah.
It won't be a surprise.
But it's coming soon.
Yeah.
It's coming soon.
I remember when we thought in our original plans Wild Boys would come out in like August.
Yeah, yeah,
That one dragged on a little longer.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's because we were focusing on all our other movies.
We had so many things, too many pots on the stove.
Yeah.
I can't think of any other analogies for a lot of things happening at once, but that was
Yeah.
basically what it was.
Yeah. But yeah. Anything else? I mean, Coalescence, Zach. Anything more you can
Coalescence
say?
is still filming. We are on a time crunch. I have hit some hiccups, but nothing that has destroyed the movie yet. So
That's
it
good.
is the ball is still rolling, so
That's
that is good. I have started working on a outline for a secret project that the other guys know about.
Yeah.
So that is
Yes.
coming along. So whenever Coalescence is done, that will happen at some point.
Exciting.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's exciting stuff.
Yeah. Well, we got some good stuff coming for all our listeners. That's the episode for today.
Yeah,
Thank
it is.
you all for listening. If you like this episode, you can follow us on Spotify or our social media or subscribe on YouTube. Only takes a few seconds out of your day, but it means a whole lot to us. And we promise to put out a cool video in return if you do. So, till next week. See you later.